Welcome back to once again to Totally Unbiased. I'm Nick, as your host, of course, and of course, I got my two usual suspects, Andrew and Aiden. How are we doing today, guys?
What's going on, you guys?
What's going on?
All right, so this is the first episode of Fan Fight. I got two good friends of mine. Um, Maybe a little biased, I'm not sure, but that's kind of the whole point. I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Max, and
How's it going?
Monty Kellerman. He calls himself Monty Kellerman. Anthony, how we doing today,
What's going
guys?
on, fellas? How we doing?
All right, so listen, we get into debates all the time, me and these guys, about football, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're here for. Fan Fight is where we get the best fans to argue about their team. So first off, I'm going to start it off. We know where this is going. We talked about this a little before. Let's talk about some rookie quarterbacks. All right, Max, give me your evaluation of the rookie quarterback so far this season.
I think Trevor's not looked that great, honestly. First two games. Not a huge fan of Urban Meyer. I think he's set up for failure. Your wonder boy, Zach Wilson, Monty Kellerman, looks not that great either. Once again, set up for failure. I think Mac Jones looks pretty good. Justin Fields on a leash. And Trey Lance, once he gets his opportunity, he's going to be pretty good himself, I think. But Wilson looks the worst out of all of them. That's for sure.
Monty, what do you think? What do you think about your guy?
Man, I've been on the Wilson train for a while now. I think this guy has by far, well, maybe not by far, but definitely the most talent in the class. I think he can do things that other guys cannot. Like, perfect example at BYU, running across his body, throwing 50 yards accurately to his receiver. I really don't think any other receiver could do that. I think what's going to determine his success will be if the Jets have the right coaching. Because with a guy like Wilson, he's a gunslinger. So when you're a gunslinger, you got to figure out when and when not to throw those 50-50 balls. And last game against the Patriots, he obviously does not know when or when not to do that, which is part of being a rookie. So I'm thinking if, which is right now it's an if, I think they do. But if they have the right coaching, I think that he can end up being a very good quarterback in this league and maybe finally our savior.
I gotta bounce a couple things because you said some things in there that were true. Coaching's big. You said like he threw up 50-50 balls. Those were 0% balls. He threw those right to defenders in crowds of three, completely confused by Belichick. And part of the thing is, and you say that he's more talented than Trevor Lawrence, the third best quarterback prospect of all time. I can't even come close to agreeing with you in that.
See, my thing with Trevor Lawrence is, yes, he's talented. Yes, he was successful at college. My problem with Trevor Lawrence right now is I think Urban Meyer looks – we talked about Zach Wilson looking very bad with what he did, which is fair. I think Urban Meyer looks like he has zero idea what he's doing. I don't think he could coach at an NFL level. And I think the best case for Lawrence, based off his success, will be if he can find a team and a franchise that could really elevate his play, kind of like how Stafford is with the Rams right now. And I just don't see Jacksonville being the spot for him because of how bad the franchise really is. There were reports that the owner gets more involved in the transactions than the GM does, and got the GMs upset. So I just don't like Jacksonville. I think they're a very, very bad franchise.
Yeah, Aiden's got some real opinions about that coaching staff over in Jacksonville.
Well, hold on real quick, Monty. One thing I heard you say was something about like elevating your play with a new team, how Matt Stafford's doing that with the Rams. What about Sam Darnold? Do you think he's elevated his play a little bit in Carolina? Do you think he's
I think he has. I think I'm not going to give him too much praise yet because I believe what he's done the first 2 weeks is simply just what he is supposed to do. I think the Saints were a fraud week one. I don't think their defense is really that good. I like Jameis. I don't know how much I like him, but I think, he could be okay. But I do like the Panthers defense. They're young, they're fast. Obviously, Darnold's got targets with McCaffrey, Moore, Robbie. So, yeah, I think the Panthers can make a little bit of noise. I don't think they're a playoff team yet, keyword yet. I think they could definitely compete for it this year. But I just think playing and straight up the Bucks, the Cowboys, even maybe the Rams. There's just so many other Packers. There's so many other teams that I think are just straight up better than them in the NFC, which is why I just can't see them making the playoffs.
Well, for that, I mean, Packers got absolutely dominated by the Saints. You're calling that a week 1 fluke, but then the Saints look pretty garbage against Carolina. So, I mean,
They did. Roger, I
you
think
could attribute it to defense, but I definitely think that quarterback play had something to do with it. Sam Darnold hasn't looked as bad as he did in Green.
fair, and I do agree that he didn't have the supporting cast in New York that he should have. But I also think part of his problem, which he also still did last week, was just making non-acceptable NFL throws. Like last week, his pick, that's just like a very bad throw, and that's just not acceptable. And when when it matters the most, who knows if he's still going to make that throw, because he's showing that he still has a tendency to make that throw. Which was one of my main concerns. There was 2 main concerns I had with him in New York, and why I wanted to move off and get Zach Wilson. I should give 3. 1, love Zach Wilson. Think he has super talent. Talked about it before. My second reason is he never played a fully healthy season with us. He was hurt in some capacity every single year that he was there, and missed a game, at least 2 or 3 games every year that he was there, which was one of my concerns. And the last one, like I said, just making unacceptable NFL throws, which it looks like Rule and Joe Brady have done a good job with helping him with that, not making throws as much. But just the fact that I saw it last week again, it just still turns me the wrong way. But I will admit he has done his job as of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, he definitely had. And then last thing I want to bring up real quick, out of those 3 points you mentioned, Sam Darnold not playing a full healthy season. I mean, obviously that's on him as well, but I also kind of want to contribute to that, to some bad O-line play. I really don't think Sam Darnold had a fantastic O-line. And something with, you're saying not acceptable NFL throws, you're praising Zach Wilson here. Those interceptions are, I mean, no interception is NFL worthy, but for some of those thrown into triple coverage or just completely missing a guy by 5 yards, I mean.
Agreed. My problem with Sam was I expect Wilson to make those throws his rookie year. Like Josh Allen made those throws his rookie year. Peyton Manning, the greatest himself, made those kind of throws his rookie year. My problem with Sam was making those throws when he was in his 3rd year in the league. I'll even give a little bit of leeway the 2nd year. I with quarterbacks, rookies, I expect you to throw a lot of picks. It's part of the process. You're a rookie. You're a rookie quarterback, a high pick also, which means your team that you're going into already isn't that good. So you're just destined for mistakes. So I think when you're in year 3, it's really with where the excuses kind of stop. And with Daniel Jones, randomly, Daniel Jones, year 3, make or break for him. If he's not their guy this year and they don't, produce winning football, which it doesn't look like they're doing right now, he's out.
Well, I think that's partially about winning football and partially not. I'm going to ask you, Gluck, because you're a Giants fan. First 2 games of the season, what's been the problem with the New York Giants?
Honestly, the defense. That's supposed to be the center point of the team. The defense has looked absolutely horrible. I mean, I don't hate Taylor Heineke at all. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's an exceptional quarterback. He showed himself last year against the Buccaneers, but I just can't understand how he just dominated them like Tom Brady would. I mean, this defense last year carried us. I expected the Giants' offense to be a little bit of a struggle, but Daniel Jones has not been the problem so far. I think he's really, really good. The offense has looked good, minus Darius Slayton. We're not going to talk about that though. But minus him, they've looked pretty good. I mean, Monty, going back to you real quick about your Jets though. You talk about Darnold and 3rd year, no excuse. Well, Adam Gase might be the worst head coach of all time, and the Jets last year might have been one of the worst teams ever assembled. Who were his weapons? No offensive line, no weapons. That's why I wouldn't have gave up on him. I mean,
fair enough.
Team,
definitely
give him a team. I don't understand. I never understood the hate for Sam Darnold. I mean,
I do agree with you. I do agree that his targets were very minimal. Probably had, no exaggeration, a bottom 5 coach of all time, not just in the league currently, of all time. I think we could all nod our heads and agree to that. But it's just, yes, you didn't have the targets. Yes, you didn't have the offensive line, but not having a target and not having an offensive line and not having a coach is just still, some of the throws were just so inexcusable. Like sometimes the interceptions, there you couldn't even see a receiver on the screen. He just threw it right to the defender. And then I'm sure everyone remembers this play in Miami, like year 2, when he was scrambling out in the red zone at like the 5-yard line. He threw some kind of ridiculous pass that got intercepted instead of us scoring. It's just, do I think he can succeed with Carolina? Sure, yeah. I think he could be 15-ish range of a quarterback. I think that's fair enough. But is that really good enough in the NFC to how far he could really, really get them?
I mean,
Monty,
playoff team.
I gotta say,
Playoff team.
You made a good point there. But, and I'm gonna ask all you guys. I want to hear everyone's opinion on this. This is why I think Sam Darnold didn't work in New York. You ready? Hold on. Ready? Joe Douglas. Now I'll tell you why. Sam Darnold was a Mike McCagnon pick, and then they fired him. So you let the older GM get a quarterback, then hire a new GM who's not his quarterback. I don't think Joe Douglas wanted anything to do with Sam Darnold at all anyway.
I would disagree with that. I could see it either way. I would say I disagree because Joe Douglas, there were reports that he did tell Sam, like he spoke highly of Sam, and he's also actually spoke to his parents saying, I'm going to try to get him protection, which he did. He drafted a tackle with the 11th pick, so he did back up that claim of trying to help him. The targets-wise also, too, 2nd-round pick, Denzel Mims. Another conversation we could get into of how I'm furious how they decided to play Vincent Smith over Denzel Mims and how it's really ironic in week 1, the one play that Denzel Mims plays, he gets a 40-yard catch. But different story for a different time. But yeah, I can also agree Joe Douglas did not do everything maybe he could have to help Sam Darnold succeed. I think letting Robbie walk was a mistake, which I do like how Joe Douglas openly admitted that it was a mistake, because some GMs will, try to scapegoat around it, saying how they, truly think it was the right move, even though everyone knows it wasn't. I like how he came out and also said that, yes, I messed up.
And then one thing I want to...
Eden, what do you think about Sam Darnold and the Jets moving on so fast?
Well, I think the whole Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson comparison, I think it's a little too soon to make that comparison because Darnold hasn't gotten a real shot somewhere else yet, and Zach Wilson hasn't gotten a real amount of time to prove himself yet either. Darnold, you have to accept all of these boneheaded mistakes with Darnold. But like you were saying earlier, with the pick on the 5-yard line and those kinds of things, and these are problems that happen with lots of quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, for example, with the turnovers, and you just have to wonder with guys like that, can you limit these problems to the lowest amount possible? And with Zach Wilson, you kind of are starting to see the same issues already because it's early, and you just have to. With these guys who are young and they haven't really gotten this true shot to prove themselves in a good setting, you have to just try your best to give them a chance to lower their mistakes and then judge them based off of that.
Totally agree. Sorry if anyone was going to talk if I interrupt, but Josh Allen, perfect example. Gunslinger, came into the league, rookie year, Bills, did not have a good team, made a lot of mistakes. Found Sean McDermott, the right coach. Maybe Robert Saleh is the right coach. I believe he is, but it's still an unknown. You get the right coaching, you get Zach Wilson to understand, hey, this is where you can make that throw. This is where you can't make the throw, which is what they did with Josh Allen. And now last year was a top 5, I would say, MVP candidate, maybe even top 3 if you want to argue. And now it looks like the Bills have their franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. Because injuries happen, and he does like to run a lot, so... Never know.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think there's room for improvement in Darnold and Wilson. It's definitely too early to tell who's going to pan out to be the better guy. But then, Gluck, to throw you back in, we were talking about the Giants a little bit. My opinion on the Giants is, yes, their defense needs to perform. But this year, I mean, you're saying, if they're not winning games, Jones is out. But Jones is playing good football. Jones isn't playing spectacular, but I mean, I have his stats right here. Week 1 and 2, 250 yards and a touchdown. He's had only 1 fumble so far in the season. And as far as rushing, his second week, he had more rushing yards than Saquon and a touchdown, and he had a rushing touchdown in week 1. So he's playing good football. So do you think they stick around with him if it's another losing season, but he continues to perform this way for the entirety of the season?
See, the problem with the NFL is if you don't see results from your quarterback by year 3, everyone is quick to move off him. So let's say Daniel Jones does have a solid year, but the Giants don't produce at least, I'll give them like an 8-9 record. The quarterback is the most important position in football. I think we could all agree with that. So when a team isn't succeeding, everyone is going to go to the quarterback, especially one that seems to be, very controversial. True. Is he our guy? Is he not our guy? So it seems like year 3 is really the year where, you're a quarterback and your team isn't winning football games. It's time to move on.
You see, I disagree with you there. If Jones does good, I don't think he's going to lose his job. Look at Matthew Stafford. He played Detroit for his entire career. They owe a lot of losing records. The guy produced every year. Honestly, he made them competitive by himself. So if he literally just didn't play Detroit, this guy's honestly, I would probably make him a Hall of Fame quarterback if he doesn't play Detroit. He was just set up. He was also set up for failure. He got lucky though. Always, I don't know. It's something about him. He just always was just slinging it, and a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, and just a good leader on and off the field. But my thing with Daniel Jones is he hasn't fumbled the ball. Interceptions was never really the problem with Jones. It's fumbles. If he holds on to the ball, he's a good quarterback. The problem is, we saw week 1, he had a costly turnover against Denver, which kind of changed the game, and obviously we lost. But I think if the Giants have a losing season, it's not Daniel Jones who goes. Assuming he keeps this up, he's playing well. I think it's time to get rid of Gettleman, as much as I hate to say it.
Now I have – sorry, keep going.
A lot of great picks, but also a lot of really bad picks at the same time. A lot of questionable picks. Kind of keeps you on your toes. I don't know.
I do have one thing to say. Sorry, Andrew. This is my last thing.
Go for it.
So, you guys know, is everyone in here a Giants fan besides me?
Yeah, we're all Giants fans.
So, now let me ask you this. You guys have the Bears' first-round pick this year. Correct, right?
That is absolutely correct.
So and we hope the Bears don't win a game.
Let's say the Bears have
win no more
bad season and win 5-ish, 6 games, which is what they're expected to win. Fair? 5, maybe 6 games?
It's very fair.
So, say the Giants also don't make the playoffs and are also around that range, 5-6 wins. If there's a quarterback that the Giants like and they think that he could really have big potential, you could package those two first-round picks and go get, if they really like a Spencer Rattler or the guy from Cincinnati, who's Desmond Ryder, who's really good.
No. I think Gluck's gonna have the same opinion as me. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for another quarterback who's gonna struggle behind a crappy offensive line and have to score 30 points a game to keep up with what the other team is doing because the defense is playing bad. I definitely would not want to go that route at all, and I think Gluck was about to say the same thing.
First off, we're using those first-round picks, I hope, on offensive linemen. That's what I hope we're going to do.
Maybe
a good wide receiver if he's there. I don't know. And second off, there is not one quarterback in the first round I think the Giants should take. I don't really like any of them, to be honest. It's not like it's Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, or the year before it was Herbert and Tua, that draft. This is I really don't love the quarterbacks in this draft, in the slightest. Look at Oklahoma; they're barely winning games, and
Oklahoma fan, I can say I'm not that proud of.
They do not look good. There's just I don't know. This quarterback draft reminds me of the Mitch Trubisky draft class. That's literally what it is. I'm not a Jared Goff hater either, but I feel like no matter who they're not going to beat nothing game changing, and I think we just keep going with Jones, let him develop. Even though it is a third year, we have a pretty hard schedule for the most part. And obviously, our O-line's not very good.
So I have a question for for all you guys, since you're Giants fans. Joe Judge, seems like all the Giants fans like him, If he doesn't produce winning football this year, is he on the hot seat year 3?
No,
yes.
Because it's Jason Garrett's
without
fault.
a doubt. Yes, without a doubt.
Yes.
You can't go 3 years in a row without winning and going to the playoffs. It's unheard of. You can't do it. You can't do it. The reason Tom Coughlin stuck around as long as he did was because of 2 trophies. And there were years where he did not go below 500 and he missed the playoffs. He went above 500 twice and missed the playoffs. That's why he kept his job. If Joe Judge continues to lose, it doesn't matter what his attitude is, how much we like him. It doesn't matter. If you don't win games, you don't keep your job. Simply put, you can blame Jason Garrett, you can blame Patrick Graham. It all falls under the head coach. Whether you win or you lose, it's on the head coach's record, it's on the quarterback's record. Those are the two players you blame more than anybody else.
So if the Giants fail
Yeah,
this
the
year,
Giants,
which is how they're trending right now, does Dave Gettleman get the boot? Because
I think he gets the boot no matter what. I don't think they need to win or lose. I think he retires. Genuinely. I don't think he stays. And the biggest mistake they can make, which they will make, and I know they will make, they are going to promote Kevin Abrams, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Why would you promote Kevin Abrams? I know too much about this franchise. They just basically like to recycle the same disciples, the same guys, right? I mean, Jerry Reese was an Ernie guy, right? Gettleman was a Jerry Reese guy and an Ernie guy. It's the same thing. It's insanity. It's the same reason why the Giants have been good in years. They think it's 1988. They think that you should run the ball all game long and not push the ball down the field. It's the same reason they've been bad in the past, and it's the reason they're not good right now.
Yeah, they've had too many losing seasons in a row to be giving losing coaches a chance over and over and over again. The Giants just need to actually find the right person to run this program, assuming things don't work this year, of course. And I think another problem that the Giants created for themselves or the fans, I should say, created was they fell in love with Judge too early. Like, I don't have anything too bad to say about Judge necessarily. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I think, the whole idea of the lapse in practice and, the military-like program got too many people it made too many people start cutting in too many breaks. And, if we continue to play losing football, I don't think, I think he should get the boot. I
disagree. That's the criticism of him. The criticism of him is how he runs his team. That's the biggest criticism, Judge. People don't like him because some fans might, but people don't like him because he's not a well-liked person along in the media. He's not.
And what I love about
I'm talking about the fans, not about like the media necessarily.
And what I love about Judge is that he doesn't care what other people are saying. He's going to run it how he wants to run it. And if that works, then that's amazing. But the thing with those coaches, you hear the guys like Dan Campbell and Judge and Saleh, all fiery guys. So when you have guys that, are super passionate and, always energetic, yes, that like makes you excited, but that also doesn't mean that they could coach too. I'm not saying that those guys can't coach, because I think all three of them definitely can. Still to be determined. But when you have those high energy guys, especially for teams that have been losing for years, you're just looking for anything that, could really make you have more, positive enthusiasm toward your teams and, get a little excited too early.
And part of the issue too is when you're a disciplinarian and you have this whole philosophy of discipline, and you lose and you continue to lose, players will buy out or they will sell out of your team very fast. They will return. They'll give you a receipt for your culture. They don't want in, because if they're not winning, they don't want to work. And unfortunately, that's the way people are today. That's the way the NFL is run today. If you're not winning, people want out. They want out. They won't buy into your culture. He won't run that lap because he thinks he's too good and he can go somewhere else and not have to run that lap. That's the kind of thing that it's a slippery slope. If you're winning, all is good. All is good. It doesn't matter. But when you continue to lose, you might see the same results repeatedly. Why do you think Tom Coughlin and the Jaguars didn't work? The players, after they went to the championship game and then they were bad 2 years after in a row, the players bought out of the culture.
I agree, and I saw some stuff on Twitter that I kind of disagreed with, where it's debatable. Dexter Lawrence offsides, maybe yes, maybe no. And then I saw some people saying something like, "Oh, like so much for discipline with Joe Judge, and you lose like that." I don't think that's a discipline thing, because me personally, I really don't think he was offsides. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of disagreed when I saw that on Twitter about like, oh, all this talk about how he's disciplined and they lose like that. I didn't think he was offsides, one. And two, yes, I mean, he does, have, he's super about discipline. but sometimes it won't always work. And like Nick said about the Jags with Coughlin, they just bought out. So, yeah, like we said before, he's got to win this. He's got to win this year. He's on the hot seat.
I think the criticism about the discipline came less because I want to hear Max's point of view on this. I think the criticism of discipline came less from that play, and if you're calling it because of that play, you're a moron. I think it becomes more about they had 11 penalties, and 5 of them were pre-snap. You had 2 false starts, a delay of game, and 2 offsides. And those 2 offsides were on the final drive of the game, which is really important. Whether Dex was off or not, like it doesn't end up mattering in the end. They lost the game. But I mean, Gluck, what do you think? Is this a discipline issue? Because I personally think this is a discipline issue. I mean, you can't have pre-snap penalties. That is the number 1 discipline issue that you need to have set for the season.
I think it goes back to even preseason. I mean, the team got into a huge fight. I mean, they ran laps. That's discipline right there. I mean, who knows? No one knows the play, what was going on. It could have been practice for about, I don't know, 2-minute drive. But if they're gonna do stupid things like that, I mean, yeah, that falls on the coaching. I agree with that. I mean, how do you get a delayed game if you're calling a timeout? It makes literally no sense to me. I don't understand how you do that. It's like going back to the huddle after a timeout and not knowing what the play is, and then just spiking the ball. I don't know. That was bad. See, that was also costly though. That was huge play.
Pathetic sequence for sure. A pathetic sequence.
And I don't care what level of coach. Not even the high school level. I've never seen that before.
I've seen it. UCF's done it once. They didn't do that. They called a timeout on a 4th and 1 to stop it, and they stop it. They win. They basically win the game. They had 12 men on the field after timeout.
Giants lost that game not on talent. They lost that game. Yeah, I agree on discipline.
Discipline.
That's literally why I lost the game. I mean, they have such a hard schedule coming up. I mean, first off, they better beat Atlanta this week. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of problems if they don't beat Atlanta this week.
Yes, I agree.
But then they play New Orleans, Dallas, the Rams, Carolina, Kansas City, Raiders, Buccaneers. I mean, that's a pretty big stretch right there of really good teams. What is that? 6-7 games? I mean, we could honestly see them at worst 1-8 or 1-7. It could be like that again.
Now, my take with the Giants is if you lose this week at home to a clearly bottom 5 Atlanta Falcons team in football,
they're probably not the number 1 overall pick.
You're going to start being looked at. You're going to start being looked at around the league as possibly the worst team in football.
Cleveland Browns.
Next week is a must-win game. They have to win. Have to.
I mean, if they lose to an old Atlanta, I mean, the Falcons have the same squad from the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not a Matt Ryan hater, but I think the guy his time is done in Atlanta. I mean, maybe go somewhere else for 1 year, kind of maybe honestly, if Matt Ryan went to the Colts, I'd actually like that a lot. 1 year, kind of like the Philip Rivers experiment, that would be a good thing for him. But if we lose to the Falcons, that's just a slap in the face. I mean, it's almost as bad as losing to the Jaguars. I think the Falcons are just absolutely terrible in so many ways. I mean, the defense is old. Their offense, I mean, besides Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts, I mean, that offense is just not that good.
Cordell Patterson looks good.
That offensive line is horrendous. We thought the Giants line is bad. That line is horrendous.
Falcons.
Terrible. They made Brandon Graham look like a perennial Pro Bowler. And by the way, this is a shot at the Eagles. He has 1 Pro Bowl in 12 years. But sure, pay him $20 million. Either way, I'm just saying, they have no offensive line. So, and another problem with the Giants this year has been their pass rush. So, can they get a pass rush? We'll see. But yeah, their offensive line is bad. Their quarterback is aging. He's immobile. And not for nothing, Julio's gone. You have Calvin Ridley's not a great receiver yet. He's a very good receiver. He's not a great receiver yet. He's not. So you have one very good receiver and Russell Gage, who we don't know what Russell Gage is. He shows up and then disappears. He does it every year. We don't know what he is. But again, I agree with you guys. If they lose this week, they are the worst. They are a bottom 3 team in football because they're losing to a bottom 4 team in football. Realistically, let's call it like it is.
And you're 0-3.
And you're 0-3.
Yep.
In a division that is absolutely reachable to get. Because you didn't show up week 1 and week 2 you should have won. But you didn't. So it's time they got realistically out of this tough stretch. I think it's Gluck, you mentioned a 7-game stretch, not that was including Atlanta, I believe.
I think it's 7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, in that stretch, if you're not 500 or one game under 500, because the schedule gets lighter at the end of the year, you got no chance. And that seat is getting real hot for Joe Judge really quickly, too.
Well, so then out of that lineup of games, obviously you got Atlanta you want to win, but then out of New Orleans, Dallas, the Rams, Carolina, Kansas City, Vegas, and then Week 10 is your bye week. Besides Atlanta, who are you beating with the way we're playing right now?
Listen, man, it's not. This doesn't have to do with Sam Darnold or at all. But I think the Giants can beat Carolina at home. I do.
No, they're not. Are you kidding me? I mean,
I think they could beat Carolina. I think they could beat Carolina.
I'm scared for Daniel Jones. His life might end.
Well, it depends. You lining up Andrew Thomas across from Brian Burns, or you lining up Nate Solder. You're lining up Nate Solder. Daniel Jones might die by the third quarter.
Mm-hmm. I'm not scared of the Giants' offense. I mean, let me rephrase it. I'm not scared Darnold's going to light us up. I mean, I think he'll have a good game, but I'm scared McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to do. That's what I'm scared about. He's our D line is he's going to dance all around us.
Another question: is McCaffrey even healthy by then? Because we know how he gets hurt.
He's looked pretty good so far. I mean,
he's looked pretty good.
The Panthers were smart last year. They didn't play him. They let him sit the entire year last year. They let him fully recover
in a lost year.
And last year they didn't expect nothing.
They weren't dumb. They let Mike Davis keep going, and honestly, he got a contract out of that. So I mean, McCaffrey's he's recovered. I mean, it's the NFL. You never know. But
absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying he will get hurt. I'm just saying we do know what his history is with injuries, so he could not even be playing by then. But he has looked good.
Speaking of running backs, though, I do think we see Barkley. He's getting back on track. I think he's still pretty rusty. I honestly still think he's hurt. I mean, I think it's a lot worse than what the media is showing us. I think he's still in a lot of pain.
I disagree. I think it's this. I think he's worried more in his head than his body is.
Agreed.
I think it's all mental at this point. Because a lot of guys who say that when they recover from torn ACLs, they say, listen, we're healthy. Our body is fine. Our knee is actually stronger than it used to be. But the problem is, it's mental. Sometimes it's year 2. It takes you to be ready after that injury. And, if the Giants, and I think somebody mentioned this on our last video, if the Giants want to be this great team and they want to win games, is Barkley the guy you want to rely on right now? Who not clearly because we don't know what's in his head, but there's a little bit of hesitation. There's a little bit of, he's a little over, he's kind of overdoing it a little bit, trying to jump through holes too fast. He's trying to catch up for a year lost, really. Is he the guy you want to lean on right now? Because if you don't have to. You have playmakers. You could spread the ball around. This is why you got all these weapons. Is that what you should be doing and letting Barkley be a complimentary piece until he's ready? That's my opinion. I'm of that opinion.
See, it's funny you said that about how Saquon came up because I was actually going to say, what time are we at in this video? 33:17. I want you guys to come back to this video at this time and remember I said this. This week, Saquon Barkley, 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. Come back to that time in the video.
I'd love to see it.
And I'll give it
I like that prediction.
And the Giants win. Must win, they'll win. Saquon Barkley has his best game so far.
I might have to put that on Fox Bet now. Now you mention it.
Come back to this time in the video.
Monty made a prediction, and he's usually wrong, so I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley's got 7 attempts for 6 yards and a fumble because
you don't have to go to the game with us next week, Andrew. You could stay home.
No, I just feel like
you can stay home.
Look, I would love Barkley to have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'd like him to put up an Aaron Jones performance from last night. I mean, let's not say
I was up by 30 in fantasy.
That's a conversation for another day.
All right, so guys, listen, I got one question to wrap it up with you guys. This is something we've talked about in the past. I've talked about with them in the past, and I want Andrew and Ian to get in on this. All right, so there were 2 pretty disgruntled stars in New York at one time. Jamal Adams and Odell Beckham Jr. And, not for nothing, both teams got some great packages for those guys. Now, you look in retrospect now, for the Jets, they got Elijah Vera Tucker. And who's the other first-round pick they received? Is that next year's pick?
They have the Seattle pick coming up this year, yeah.
Seattle picks next year. So the Jets really got big picks. 2 first-round picks is massive for a guy like Jamal Adams. The Giants received, for Odell Beckham Jr., Dexter Lawrence, who was a first-round pick. They used that pick on Dexter Lawrence, Jabril Peppers, and O'Shane Ximines. Now, we've talked about this in the past. I'm going to start with the Odell Beckham, then we're going to go to Jamal Adams. Odell Beckham Jr. trade is the reason the Giants' defense was good last year and why it will improve this year. And I think the Browns will live to regret the day they made that deal.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I could see that happening. I definitely believe that. I also believe that since Odell Beckham's left New York, I mean, yes, he put up 1,000-yard season, but he's had more injuries down the stretch. He's been out here and there. He missed a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. I just see long-term longevity for this guy. He's really just Odell's going to be fizzled out. I mean, another thing. How about this? At 35-54, come back to this video. Odell Beckham's going to be out of the league in 3-4 years.
I don't think that's bold. I actually think that's actually just spot on.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's going to be out too.
Yeah, and listen, a little statistical thing I got for you guys right here. You ready? Since being acquired by the Browns, in the 23 games he has played, Odell Beckham Jr. averages 50 yards per game. 50 yards per game. And as his career as a New York Giant, he averaged over 100. So that tells you two things. One, he's not done well in the Browns. And two, he lost a step from that injury. I really do think he lost a step from that injury. And not for nothing, if you look at his body of work during his whole career, he's been in the NFL 8 years now. He's played 2 full seasons. A lot of people still saying, "Oh, I don't know if the Giants won this trade. They killed this trade." And another team that killed their trade, the New York Jets, getting 2 firsts for Jamal Adams when they have a young stud named Marcus May back there, who they do need to pay, by the way.
So, yeah, I would say the Giants have won it so far. I do want to see Odell come back this year, see what he does. I think if we're talking, I know we're on Odell now, but with the Jets and Giants, with their superstars, I think they won the trade solely based off of not having to pay. How much is Odell getting a year? 18?
He gets $16 million a year to
so
play.
It's funny because he gets 16 a year, and now Jamal is getting 17 a year. So
top 5 receiver money.
The biggest win of that trade was not having to pay those guys. Because yes, Jamal Adams, we get it. He's he's got talent. You know, he could rush the passer. But the problem is when you're a safety, you're not paid to rush the passer. You're paid to, be reliable in coverage. And Jamal Adams has not been able to show that he's reliable in coverage. Same with Odell. I mean, now, yes, I agree. The Giants won the trade because they don't have to pay him, 1. And 2, I mean, not even just, like I said, yeah, they won it because they don't have to pay him. I wouldn't even say they won it because of who they got back, because when you think about it, Jabril Peppers only played 50% of the snaps week 1. So, I mean, he's kind of questioning right now. Dexter Lawrence is the guy that just, jumped off sides last year, whatever. But, yeah, I don't think it's based off the guys that the Giants got back. I think it's based off of the fact that you don't have to pay a guy who is injured $60 million a year.
I got to say, it's an interesting point about Peppers, but you looked at his snap count week 2, back to normal. That's one thing that you need to understand. And the other thing about Jabril Peppers is he is versatile. He plays special teams. And by the way, if you look at the Giants and you watch them, their best players play special teams. Logan Ryan is on kickoff.
Oh, he's awesome, Logan Ryan. He's good.
But yeah, and I tell you, a big part of it also is locker room presence. Like, I know, yeah, all the guys love him, but listen, not for nothing, a big mouth causes problems. Whether they're good problems or bad problems, a big mouth causes problems. Jamal caused problems. He did.
Good.
Odell caused problems. That's kind of the shtick with these guys. And I just want to pull up one thing that you did say, Jamal not being great in coverage. I don't think Jamal should be expected to cover Stephon Diggs. The Seahawks had no corners last year. They abused Jamal to the point where he was playing cornerback 1. When Griffin was not on the field, he was their best defensive back. Well, he is their best defensive back, but he was their best corner. And he's not a cover safety. He's not. He's a box safety with he's a box plus safety. I think he's great at a lot of things, but he's a box safety more than anything. He's a box plus safety. To get 2 first-round picks and not have to pay him $18 million, I think is a hell of a move by the Jets.
Yeah, see, same thing. the draft picks, we don't know. Elijah Vera Tucker, yes, I think he will be good, but we don't know yet. The first round pick next year, who knows if that's going to be good? The thirds that we got from it, because we got 2 thirds also. Who knows if he's going to be good? I think hitting on those picks makes us really win the trade, like even more than we already did now. But like I said, we won because we don't have to pay a box safety $17 million a year. But I do have to say, if he didn't want that much money, he would be excellent in Robert Saleh's scheme because he would play the Mike or the Will linebacker, and I think that's a perfect role for him as a player.
All right, so last question for both you guys. I got one for Gluck first, and then one for Monty, and then Aiden and Andrew can answer after. All right, Gluck, listen, I need you to give me one bold prediction for the Giants and the Jets this week each. Give me one each. Bold prediction.
I got to sit forward for this.
All right, for the Jets, I think the Jets actually make it a game in Denver. I'm not even kidding. I think they're going to make it a game. I think they're going to get the Teddy Bridgewater. Gut feeling. I don't know. Just a gut feeling. Something about it. I think Wilson's also going to have a bounce-back week. I'm not even a Zach Wilson hater. I mean, I think the Jets should have kept Darnold, but he has potential. He absolutely has potential to be good. I think he's going to shine. I mean, the guy, what did he hit? How many interceptions? Like 1 reception last year, right? In college? Something like that?
Wilson, I believe it was definitely. Are we talking about Wilson?
Yeah.
He definitely threw single digit. He didn't. He threw.
I think it was 3.
I thought it was 5, but you could be right. It might have been 3.
Hey, Zach Wilson's returning to Mountain Time. He knows how to win. And my prediction for the Giants, they blow out Atlanta and they give us maybe some false hope. I'm not sure, but I think we see Daniel Jones 300 yards passing. I think we see Shepard 150 yards receiving, and I think we see Barkley have. We're gonna go 120 yards rushing and 50 yards receiving. I think Jones has. I just think they have a good week. In the defense, they somehow get 5 sacks. I don't know how, but they're gonna get 5 sacks.
Pass rush.
Very bold.
Somehow, some way they're gonna do it. I don't know. Gut feeling. I actually have to go there, but thank you for having me on the show.
Any interceptions?
Of course, anytime.
And any interceptions?
1 fumble because it's Daniel Jones.
Fair. All right, Monty, give us your 2 bold predictions for the week. Give you 2.
All right, I'm going to go quick because I'm on time a little bit here. So the one with the Giants, I'll go first. I said it before, Saquon Barkley, 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. I also think the Giants do win this game because they just straight up have to. My bold prediction for the Jets, I definitely can't say I think that they're going to win because I don't, because playing in Denver, top probably a 5 defense, the altitude, you know how that is. My bold prediction for the Jets, I would have to say their pass rush. I think they get 4 sacks on Teddy Bridgewater because they have showed this year that they do have a good defense, surprisingly so far, with not having a lot of big names. Carl Lawson was a huge loss, but we got guys who are stepping up. So I think my bold prediction for the Jets is that they get 4 sacks on Teddy Bridgewater and they lose by more than 1 possession. I don't like this matchup at all.
Okay.
But that's it for me, guys. I got to head out. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, my
Anytime. Come on, Monty. Anytime. What do you got, Aiden? What do you got for us?
All right. Well, I'm gonna say I think my Jets bold take of the week is gonna be that Zach Wilson and Corey Davis are gonna get that connection going right where it was week 1. I think Corey Davis gets over 100 receiving yards, probably a touchdown to pair with it. And I think that offense is gonna, I think they're gonna shake off what happened in week 2 and immediately, get back to going again. And for the Giants, I think the story of the week with the Giants, I know everybody's expecting it to be the offense. I think it's going to be the defense. The defense started off slow to start the year. It hasn't really shown anything too promising yet. And I think the defense is probably going to come up with an interception and maybe even a fumble recovery, something along those lines. I think they'll force multiple turnovers, and I think they're going to stall the Atlanta offense and ultimately win the game on that side of the ball.
All right, yeah, definitely. And does that Jets prediction have anything to do with the fact that you got Corey Davis on your fantasy team?
No,
100%.
Definitely not.
100%.
100%.
No way.
100%.
Big Patrick Surtain,
whatever you say.
Yeah, for the Jets, I'm gonna say Zach Wilson has a better game. He's still not gonna do great. I'm going to put him at like 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and still 2 picks. He's still going to have a little bit of an interception bug against his defense. And for the Broncos, my biggest thing is at running back. I want to see what Melvin Gordon does this week. And I think they're going to win by a couple scores. I'm going to put this game at like 24-14, something like that, about a possession and a half. And then for the Giants, I believe it's going to be a big week for the offense and the defense as well. I believe Daniel Jones could put up another 1 to 2 touchdowns with almost 300 yards. I'm going to say he has a clean game, no fumbles, no interceptions. Saquon's going to have 100 yards. I think Golladay might be a bit more a part of this one, and I don't think Shepard is going to get 100 yards because of it. And for the defense, I'm going to go with about 3 sacks, and I'm going to go with 2 picks, no fumbles.
All right, that's fair. And to wrap this up on Fan Fight, again, thank you guys for watching. My last little prediction here that I'm going to go for these 2 games. I'm going to go, I got this, you ready? It's bold. Jets stink. That's the boldness, all right? The Jets will lose again. They will be 0-3. And somehow Denver is 3-0. I think Denver's defense actually is good for once. Like, we have the expectations. They're finally good. I think Bradley Chubb jumps back in the mix. I think a sack each for him and Von Miller. And I think an interception for Patrick Surtain, the second, covering Corey Davis. And on the other hand, with the Giants, I think they have 2 100-yard receivers. I think Shepard and Golladay both go over 100 with both over 5 catches. And believe it or not, I think Evan Ingram, if he plays, will reach the end zone. So that's really it. Thank you for watching Fan Fight. Make sure you check out all of our other videos. We got a ton of them for you. This is Wednesday, Aiden's birthday, September 22nd. Thank you guys, and have a good one.